As you know, one of my favorite games is Mansions of Madness. Hands down, that's no surprise to anyone, right? But, question of the day. This one's Mansions of Madness related specifically. What exactly would you like to see out of a new expansion for Mansions of Madness? You have your basic template, right? You get new tiles, you get new characters, maybe a new mechanic, may or may not tweak the game too much, and then you get some new adventures. What would you like to see in a combination of all of that to take the game into divergent different variations and different ways of playing? Which brings us to what we're talking about today, which is Mansions of Madness, the newest expansion, Horrific Journeys, which does some tricky things that I'm really excited to talk about. Let's see what it adds to the game. We'll come back up, talk about if it adds anything really in actual practicality or if it's more just window dressing right now. So let's take a look at what comes in Horrific Journeys, the new expansion. Notice it shows you what's going to be inside of this just from the front. You've got your cruise ship, your train, and your dirigible right there in the background. So you know that this is headed away from the mansion out to the wild blue yonder or whatever like that. But inside of here, I've actually got them in two boxes because let's just face it, the one problem that Mansions of Madness has now, if you're a completionist, is that it's just too much content to store easily. So I've got it broken up a couple different ways. So not everything you'll see here is from this expansion and vice versa. But here's the newest monster, the new big bad monster. It's a multi-piece monster, so you know it's nicely sculpted because they have to split it apart so you can get all those nice nooks, crannies, and details. But look, just nasty looking monster. I can't wait to actually get this one painted, as I have painted some of the other ones you can see there. But this is just a nasty looking guy. I can't wait to paint him. New Deep 1 types that are a little bit stronger than the old Deep ones. They've got a better, cool look to them. If you've played the Call of Cthulhu RPG, the newest one that came out on PlayStation, you also have, I believe it's the Night Gaunt, no, what are they called? The Dimensional Shambler right here. So that scene that took forever and ever to beat in the RPG, well, here you go. Here he is in the Mansions of Madness right now. That's the new monsters. Let's take a look at some of the new tiles and some of the new heroes that came in this set right here. First of all, there are 4 new investigators plus a new puzzle. I'll show you in here rather than trying to get all the way to it in the app. The puzzle is one of those make the water go from one side to another. Plus, one of my favorite new things is the agenda card rule. This is that hidden movement or hidden role thing now that is added to Mansions. I love the idea of this, where it's a hidden role where some people get you're a human, some people you get you're a half Innsmouth person. Now, it only works in the Hidden Depths mission, but hopefully this is coming to more missions. Water is a new terrain type that's a really sticky issue, and I'm going to talk about this in the final thoughts, but it says whenever an investigator or monster moves into a space containing water, that investigator or monster immediately forfeits any remaining movement. And then it says aquatic, flying, or phasing monsters do not forfeit when water is placed on a space that contains fire. Discard fire. This is troublesome though because you're always going to face that. There's no like rule where once you're already in water you can kind of move a little better, but no, it's really troublesome and slows you down quite a bit. So let's take a look at really quick if I can find it in here. Sorry. Some of the new miniatures that came with this, some of the new heroes. Actually, let me just do it with the cards because you pretty much, if you've played any Mansions, you know what the new heroes are out of this one from the other Arkham games. First, we get Silas Marsh. We love this guy here. He's basically Aquaman. You got Trish Scarborough. She's a spy. Really cool. You got Agnes Baker. Not a baker. Ironically, it says the waitress, but she's got a cool backstory. That's one of the best parts about this is the backstories, in fact. And Jim Culver, one of my favorite characters of all time. Jim Culver, the musician. Just a cool guy with that trumpet and the cool lore behind it. But I want you to see this now. I'm missing, I think, 2 of the characters that I don't have Beyond the Threshold. But look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36 characters to choose from. I love that about Mansions. They've done a really good job just making all these characters available, all sorts of different backgrounds. I mean, any kind of character you want to be beyond just surface level traits, but things like, hey, you're a musician. Wouldn't it be cool to play as a musician? There happens to be a magician, so it's actually cool for me to play as Dexter Drake, even though I don't like his power. So just a lot of different options when it comes to that. I'm going to show you a couple of the new tiles, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. So a lot of the new tiles are like travel based. You have the spa, you have, you know, the deck, and these can be set up to make it look like you're at the front end of the ship, and it really looks neat when these all get set up out there. A lot of new things as far as boats and cruises and all that sort of stuff, which is cool because we saw this being played on the cruise. So it was nice, you know, a new train sort of station, engine room, all that stuff that applies to the prow of the deck. A lot of just great tiles that just increase the theme of this game. Now there's other ones too I wanted to show you that are train cars, which are pretty neat because they're actually done in this shape. So they're smaller. Oh, come on. I don't really want to go through every single one of these tiles to find it. That's the issue for storage, is where to store all the train tiles. But you have train cars that are nice. They're like nice little, let's see if I can find it. I do want to show you. Sleeping cars and things like that to just really accentuate that you're on a train. So, well, they're not right here, and you don't want to see me just flip through tiles over and over and over, but just know that there's a lot of great new tiles. Here we go. Passenger cabin, just like that. There's the baggage car, viewing rooms, all this sort of stuff is in the game now thanks to the new theming. And that's one of the best parts, is each new theme gives you some cool variability in what kind of tiles you're going to get. And let's face it, that's one of the best parts, is just the theming of this game, that Lovecraftian universe. Even if you're not a huge fan of Lovecraft, just the idea of being in the 20s in horror is a fantastic theme. So that's pretty much what it comes with. It comes with a couple new spells, a couple new items, obviously, but man, this is just a full-packed expansion of tons and tons of stuff for Mansions of Madness. Well, if you thought I was going to say it's just window dressing, clearly that's not the case. This adds more than just window dressing. Obviously, you get some new tiles. You get a ton of new tiles, and they're all really cool bases. They're things like the sinking ship. They're not sinking ship. There's the cruise liner. There's the dirigible. There's also a train, and I love all of these different things because it takes the game even further and further and further away from just you walk into a mansion and there's some bad things that happen, right? Which, I mean, we know that the game is the namesake of this Mansions of Madness thing from Call of Cthulhu from a long time ago, right? It's based on this whole idea where you walk into a mansion and there's some creepy things that happen, but I like that they're taking it further and further and further, adding bigger and bigger stories to it. So I will break this up into just a non-spoiler section here for now, and then I'll talk a little bit of spoilers about one of the missions at the end in just a minute. Let's talk about components and qualities. Obviously, the new monsters look great. They're that Mansions of Madness quality we've been expecting of late for the monsters that you've been seeing. You get a lot of new great miniatures for the characters. You get Silas, who's one of my favorites. That he's basically Aquaman. He's basically Jason Momoa Aquaman, so it's pretty cool to see him in the game. You get a couple other ones that we talked about already that are really nice. I like the components. I like the new spells. I like the new stuff that it adds in that. But the main thing that this one adds is really going to kind of get into our spoiler territory here. So I'm going to give you just a second. It's not a major, I'm not going to tell you what happens in the mission, but there are a couple things that if you don't want to know anything at all about the mission, go ahead and cut it off here and just know that I'm highly recommending this and that you should definitely buy this. But we're going to take just a few seconds here to let you leave, if that's you, to talk about a few more things deeper into this expansion. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I want to just kind of talk. Now, this is not full spoilers, just a couple of mild spoilers for the ship mission, the one where you're going underwater. No, you don't know that yet. When it opens up, it explodes, and the ship starts to sink. So the tiles go away, which is a cool idea. The tiles go away, and you have less and less board to work with as opposed to more and more board to work with, which to me is a really cool twist that they've added. But the thing that I wanted to talk about and why it ties into the question of the day is this notion of hidden roles in Mansions of Madness. This to me is just a simple no-brainer that, I say no-brainer obviously, but the game is good enough by itself. It's just a simple thing that adds so much to the Mansions concept by having someone be a bad guy from the start, not from an insane card, but someone be a bad guy from the start who is doing things that may or may not seem purposely bad, right? The app says, pass the iPad to this person, only they can read this part. That is so cool, and it adds just that little element of surprise and fun to a game that's already very fun, but sometimes people have accused it of becoming stale and repetitive. Well, this one flips it on its head because it says things like, only one person can look at this, question. Do this and this happens, and you hear these results and you go, wait a minute, did that happen because that person did something bad, or is it tricking us right now? And that, I love that it keeps you on your toes guessing who's actually an Innsmouth half half deep one, and who is in fact just a human being trying to do their best to save people. So I love that. I love how this game plays. It's so good. That mission alone is worth buying it. Plus you get the train and the dirigible missions too, but they don't have that hidden role. Now there's some things that it does, but they don't have the hidden role associated with it. There's a new puzzle in this one, so constantly adding. If you love Mansions of Madness, or if you played it in the past and you're like, I don't have all the expansions, this is the one to get. Pick this one up over all the other ones first because of the things that it does add, the variability to the gameplay, just the new tweaks in this mission. And I'm hoping this isn't kind of like HeroClix where you add something really cool in one set and it never shows up again in another set. I'm really hoping that this mechanic goes forward in new missions too, to where you're a fish person, or you're maybe you're a cultist for Yog-Sothoth, but not everybody knows that. So I want to see more of that hidden role aspect in Mansions. So the one thing we have to gripe about is as the water starts to get onto the ship, your movement is cut down severely. So there were several turns where Carl and we couldn't move. It was like you'd walk into the water, boom, your movement ends. Your next action would be, well, try to get a little further. You take another step, your movement ends. So basically our entire turn, almost 3 turns in a row, consisted of moving 2 spaces on our turn. And that was just not fun. I did not like that. So I know there are ways to get around it. There's life preservers, there's swimming things, but that was really irritating. And I feel like the rules should be just a little bit tweaked. And again, it might be already by the time I'm reading this, or people may have already tweaked it themselves to say, it's kind of like hindering terrain in HeroClix. Once you move into it, you have to stop. But if you're already in it, moving in it, you kind of just have your normal movement. But once you move out of it, your movement is halved. So it kind of still allows for you, because there were several turns where it was water spaces in a row, and it would stop our movement. But if we could have just moved through the water as normal, and then once we got out of the water, maybe halved it, or once you got into it, stop. Once you get out of it, stop again. It would have been nice. Just a little bit of a tweak that you could add or change, but it just really slowed us down. And I was the trader, but it didn't help me win. It was just irritating. So that's one of those things that I didn't necessarily find that was necessary to do like that. Again, maybe there's more to it than that, but anyway, pick this one up. This is a fantastic expansion for the Mansions game. You're going to love it. It's worth having, because those whose major complaint has been it's stale, this fixes that. Those whose major complaint has been that it's just kind of the same old, nothing new. Tons of new stuff to keep everyone happy, old fans and new fans alike. So I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at TheLatestRetro, Instagram at TheLatestRetro, and until next time, we'll see you.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. The Dice Tower